Hello and welcome to this presentation. My name is Mounir. I am the CEO and co-founder of Porsche AI. I'm here to share a bit about my journey as a relatively recent founder of an AI startup, coming out of a variety of roles, especially in product at big tech, most recently Stripe, and before that Google and Amazon. I'm hoping that the presentation is useful in particular for people who want to make that leap and start their own company, or people who are in a similar space to sort of stage as me, starting their own company in AI at the moment. And hopefully you'll take some useful notes from this. So before jumping in very briefly, I have done a variety of roles I mentioned in big tech in particular, always based out of here in London. So I launched the Deals program of Amazon in the UK. It's the thing that they use to run Black Friday, Prime Day, and all these big deals-driven events. I launched and grew Google Pay in 30 markets in EMEA, and I led most recently Bank as a Service at Stripe for EMEA as well. But at some point, I always wanted to do my own thing, and at some point, I felt like like I really need to get to it, and I felt like nothing else made sense anymore, and that frankly, I felt a bit like a cop out. I felt like, damn it, I need to do this. Uh, and so fast forward to whatever it was, June last year, so a year ago, Porsche AI became that thing that I started with my co-founder Emma that I met at Stripe. It's an open source SDK for building production agents with a focus on regulated industries. And I'm not going to dwell too much on what Porsche itself does because it's not really what we're here to talk about. There'll be a link at the end of this presentation if you're interested to learn more about the product itself, which I hope you will be. But anyways, let's focus on the current topic. So let me share what I learned so far, and I hope you find this useful. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on it in the comments as well. The first thing I want to talk about is what user problems and user discovery feels like at the moment, and how freaking different that is from what I've seen so far. I'm going to use a lot of video. I'm a gamer. I'm going to use a lot of video game analogies to describe this. I hope some of you can relate to it and find it a bit fun. But like the first thing I'll say is, normally user problems are they have some shape to them, right? And they have some adjacency to other user problems you're used to. You're at Stripe, you do payment products, and a user wants to do card issuance to use the money that they have in their Stripe balance. I mean, there's some adjacency, something to anchor to. In the current setup, partly because it's a startup, you're going from 0 to 1, and partly because it's AI, it really feels like that first time you try out a sort of Souls-like game. And I'm using here a screenshot from Neo, which is one of the worst ones at that particular challenge. And you're trying to configure your character, and you can't figure out how to combine the gear. You sort of directionally know that the stats all need to go up, but you don't know how to get there. Right? And so nothing makes sense at first. And this is a bit what AI feels like at the moment, because users don't really know what their problems are. They sort of know that they want to use AI, and they know that there's some opportunity there, but they don't. The user problems are almost like an emergent property of the space. They are not defined yet. And what is possible, what the technology allows you to do, is changing very quickly. And so instead of your more conventional 3-month or 6-month roadmap that you sort of revisit, you just have to make directional bets and iterate very fast on them through putting products out there and looking at the user reaction. And so your anchor for you and the rest of your team is really just hypothesis driven, deliberate iteration. That's the bit that gives you the focus that you need, as opposed to the conventional roadmaps that we're used to in the trade. The other thing is like all this like this really reassuring idea of using user storyboards and having sort of critical user journeys for your pain points, etc., that you can anchor on. Those things all sort of feel like they go out the window to a large extent. And so it feels like, for those of you who've tried that game, No Man's Sky, where like you start the game and you're like, huh? Like, what's the story arc? What's the mission? What am I supposed to do next? And instead, you really are creating your own narrative here. And so really have to stretch that muscle where you have to help your users out of that initial inertia of trying AI for their, if you're in a particular vertical or you're horizontal for a specific use case. Um, and you have to work with them to create those narratives and help them anchor on a use case. And once you're there, you're starting to gradually move to more familiar territory where you're iterating with them on the use case and you have something to anchor on where you can refine your product against that use case and the problems that the challenges that brings. And that's a bit like when you start colonizing the planet in No Man's Sky as well. So you sort of start to know what your actual problems are, and have more tangible problems and more scoped problem space to work with. And that's it's an opportunity and a challenge at the same time, of course. Um, the third thing I wanted to talk about is I actually love that bit, and that's probably my favorite bit. It's just how gratifying the product development process is because unlike this sort of sensation of herding lemmings that you get from having to like speak to 100 different departments and get 100 different sign-offs on your product design and your engineering design before and your API design before you can go and launch the damn thing. Here you're sort of in the span of a few hours, if not a few days, you will go from like something happened, like MCP is out and becoming a standard. You go from that to having an idea, a spec, a product spec, an eng design, some testing and a release in a very short period of time. And it's just amazing to see that stuff go from your head into code and into the wild so quickly. It's exhilarating. It is worth noting, though, that like in particular in AI, velocity is like is table stakes. It's not a nice to have or something you pat on your back for. You're out of the game if you can't release quickly and release well. Um, and that's because some of the opportunities that allow you to stand out and sort of get those power ups that accelerate you, like good old Mario here, um, they come and go very quickly. Again, I always go back to MCP when it had a moment, but you can think of agent to agent protocol, you can think of diffusion models. All of these are moments that come up, and it's important that you're able to react and build products that are at the forefront when it comes to these trends and to these breakthroughs, technology breakthroughs, uh, to basically continue to grow your brand and cement yourself in the developer community or in the user community more generally, whatever your target customer segment is. Um, Lastly, and this is my God, this is like the toughest part for me, if I'm honest, but also where I'm learning the most. Um, is something I have to admit I really underestimated how difficult that bit would be, and that's like how little scaffolding you have around you when you're doing your own thing from scratch when it comes to sort of outreach, awareness, traffic, adoption, right? And we're in the middle of like full on hype and meme wars in the AI space, and it's hard to tell signal from noise. And so, in that particular race, and without any of the sort of advantages of being attached to a bigger brand, it feels like you're playing Crash Bandicoot, but without any of the boosters. Or if you're more familiar with Mario Kart, you're playing Mario Kart, but you don't have any of those uh, red and green turtles to fire at your friends so you can beat them. So, this for me has been like the steepest learning curve. And so one of those is, for example, that you learn is that people follow people primarily, right? And in a if you were launching a product at Stripe, all it takes is a tweet from one of the colisons or one of their seconds in command, and people know about your product and start reaching out, and you're off to the races, as they say. Whereas in this case, you have to find advocates, you have to find credible voices in the industry to speak for you, and to use their platform to talk about you and act as force multipliers. The other thing is in terms of just brand awareness and traffic, you don't have the advantage of the, like I said, this sort of brand association and the website and the other channels of a broader company, right? And so the way you the way you deal with that is you find allies, and those will be either startups at the same stage or startups that are slightly ahead but that are interested in the space you're working on and where they see synergy. You find ways of partnering, cross marketing, cross selling, even things like getting your docs to show up in the getting your product to show up in the integration docs of some company like Browserbase, for example, is a significant channel to get people to then land on your properties, your website, your GitHub repo, and start discovering your product. And so we're getting pretty beat up there. At least I'm getting pretty beat up on that front, and in some cases not doing as well as I would like, but also learning a ton. And so it's part of why I put myself out there. It's to sort of really stretch myself, and so I'm sure we'll figure it out. But it's definitely been a challenge and a massive learning curve. So I wanted to call that out. So there you have it. I won't take much longer of your time. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you listening. I hope that you find this useful. I would love to hear from you, not just in the comments down below, but if you want to reach out on LinkedIn, have a chat about your experience. If you're trying to make that leap and you think a conversation would be helpful, you know where to find me on LinkedIn. I mean. And look, I'm no expert. I'm still learning. The idea, the purpose of this talk is to just share my experience and for it to maybe act as inspiration or get you thinking about what that looks like for you. If you like the content of this video, the only thing that I ask, if you can find it in you, is to scan this QR code and land on our GitHub repository. And if you would kindly give us a star, that goes a very long way. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making it that far. And wherever you are, I hope you're well, and I hope we one day meet in person. Thank you very much.